So we were discussing the story yesterday about Miranda Corsette, 16 years old, and this was out of St. Petersburg, Florida. She was communicating with a 37-year-old man, Stephen Gress, who was bad news. He was not a nice person, just a disgusting individual. He ended up meeting her on Valentine's Day, and he would bring her back home. So the next day, she went out with him again, but this time she would go to his home where he stayed with his girlfriend, 37-year-old Michelle Brandis. So from February 15th to the 24th, we can say that she was with this couple. And on the 24th, Miranda was reported missing. Now, my thing during the video I did yesterday was, what was she doing with him? What was the lure of attraction? Because, yes, I do know that these older people do lure these children out of their homes. And it was just something missing. You know, these articles don't sometimes say too much. You have to kind of, ad-lib, if you will, and think about what else could have been going on. So I'm like, why was she with them? More importantly, Miranda's a cute girl. You know, it didn't look like she was overly sexualized, at least in the pictures that I see. She just looks like a young 16-year-old girl. Something was just missing for me. So on March 5th, Stephen Gress, he was arrested for pointing a harpoon at Michelle. And he also had drugs on him, and he was arrested. And that's when two and two kind of came together, because I was like, and I stated in my video, I was not calling her a drug abuser or drug addict, but that was probably the lure. Besides whatever else he was saying, he had a whole girlfriend. So that, to me, was going to be the lure. Still didn't know too much of what was going on, because this poor girl was missing. And we have, what's going on with the situation, okay? So an anonymous person had called the police and said that Miranda was beaten to death inside his home by Stephen and Michelle. They were saying that a ring was missing, and her body was taken to a second location and dismembered at a third location, where it was placed in a dumpster. And at that time, the police was trying to find her body. So she is more than definitely presumed dead. And once again, Michelle was on the run, and Stephen is in jail. That's when the neighbors would come out and say that he was violent. Him and Michelle was constantly fighting. Again, he was bad news. They were relieved when their landlord put Ring cameras on the door to feel a little bit safer. This is how they felt about this man. That it was something about him that, they didn't care for. So the news got even sadder as I found out a little bit more about Miranda. Miranda had a history of leaving the home. They said running away, but she had a history of leaving the home and not coming back for days. She resided with her grandmother, so she would be gone for a couple days, but she would always come back. And this time she didn't come back, so it took a little over a week for her grandmother to report her missing, because she didn't come back. Both of Miranda's parents are deceased. I don't know why, what happened, but I just read that, her parents are no longer living. That's why she was staying with her grandmother. And she also has a 16-month-old son that she was taking care of. So obviously, right now that child, well, I'm assuming, and I probably shouldn't assume because I don't know much about it, but maybe the son is with the grandmother or a family member. I don't know. But she did have a baby when she went missing. And yes, Miranda does suffer from mental health issues and also drug abuse. So I was right in that sense, because, he was saying something to her over the phone. They were saying something to her when she arrived to make her want to come and be around them. I don't know if it was just an sex thing that turned into a drug thing, but something else was going on there. And it's just a sad story because this couple literally used this little girl. She's 16, I don't care. They used this little girl for whatever they needed to use her for. And they're going to say that, a piece of jewelry was stolen and she had it. Like, you had to beat her to death. I mean, if you wanted her out the house or whatever, you couldn't have just checked her, make sure she didn't have anything, make sure it wasn't in her belongings. But, they beat her to death. And now Michelle has turned herself in. So this couple is in jail now. And Miranda still has not been found. And I see she has a cousin and I think it was another young girl, maybe a friend of hers, that, was asking and praying about her safe return. So my condolences to everybody that loved and cared for Miranda. Terrible situation. And unfortunately, it's going to never stop. We're going to always have older people preying on these younger people because, of the lure and attraction to get them out the house. Is easier for them to stay in safety. And sometimes these younger people, they don't know what they are getting themselves into. And like I stated, I commented on my video yesterday, most of us, I'm going to say 99.9% of us, we've snuck out the house. We've been around people that may have been a few years older than her. We've done things that we probably shouldn't have done. But, the best thing is it was a learning experience. We got out of the situation and we think about it, maybe even able to laugh about it now. But as the days go on, this world just gets crazier and crazier. So if you got young daughters, young sons, just remind them again about the safety of the internet and that people out there do not have their best intentions at all. They have apps now that you can put on their phone to track where they are. Do whatever you need to do to protect our younger ones.